I'm down on the Rochdale Canal and I'm very excited to introduce the Waterways Chaplaincy CIO, drumroll please, Chair of Trustees, Rev Nikki Jenkins.
Hello.
Nikki, tell us a bit about yourself and maybe why you've taken up the baton to become the Chair of Trustees for us.
Hi, I'm Nikki Jenkins. I'm a Baptist minister, just retired. Live about a mile from here. And I guess I've always felt kind of drawn to the waterways and the coast and the places on the margins. And I also have been a chaplain and really value chaplaincy and what it can bring.
And I know you're also a spiritual director, is that right?
I am. And I think increasingly people seem to want space to reflect and make sense of life and what faith might speak into that, and how to cope with the joys and sorrows that come along.
What are the key skills of a chaplain, do you think?
Listening. Just creating a space that's safe and non-judgmental, where people can be honest and authentic and know that's okay. And just to come alongside those people and to help see if a way forward can emerge for them.
What do you think the biggest challenges are for the Waterways chaplains at the moment?
I think life is not easy, because that's true of everybody, isn't there? But sometimes canals and waterways attract people, or people end up here often with quite complex problems. There's also the desire of people to seek a different perspective. I love it on a canal when you can go through something that's really familiar, but it feels really different when you're on a canal to when you're walking the streets. And I think there's something about offering that space, that safe place where you can be and be connected with another human being and with the world, and trying to do that with honesty for chaplains is a good thing.
Pray for Nikki, please. Pray for me. Pray for us all, as in just 8 days' time now we set out by ourselves. Tell us a bit more about chaplaincy in your eyes and the church. And you were minister at Hebden Bridge, weren't you?
I was minister at Hebden Bridge, just for its last year or so before it closed. And like so many Baptist churches, so many small congregations gets older and it's more difficult just to keep going, and filling posts of responsibility and maintaining the building seem to take over. And for most of us, our faith isn't about those things. They can be very useful, but there are other things that can sometimes get missed, and people outside the church maybe don't expect to see anything in the church that connects with them. And I love chaplaincy because I was a paid chaplain for the NHS full-time in a mental health hospital. But before that, when I was a minister, I was a volunteer chaplain for the police for a while, and with a women's refuge. And it just seemed that those were places where you had real conversations with people. People wanted to talk about things, just to be listened to, just to know it was okay to say how they really felt, to say what questions they had, what fears they had, what burdens they carried. It was very special to be able to come alongside those people. You hadn't got lots of answers, but you could be a connection. You could offer a whole hand, or just listen. And it seemed I was very conscious of feeling it wasn't just me and that person in the room, but there was a sense of God's love as well. And to be able to communicate that and to be part of that is wonderful. And I would very much looking forward to supporting chaplains, because it's not always easy. Sometimes you have a lovely conversation, sometimes you come away feeling really bad and thinking, have I helped or made it worse, what should I do? And just to know that you're supported and there are people praying for you and maybe offering some shared wisdom amongst the chaplains, I think is a really important thing.
When you were in those other chaplaincy roles, and I'm guessing you had a team around you that you could debrief with?
Sort of yes and no.
Okay.
There were other people, but often, I suppose there was two teams. There were the people you worked with, and you'd often have a sort of a contact point of who you sort of liaise with most. and you'd be aware of those people. But often you were working as much for those people as you were for the other people you're seeing and the people you're working with. Hospital chaplaincy, you're there as much for the staff as you are for the patients or the clients or whatever. But also the need for people outside that, friends and church connections. That's where you can, you need somewhere that you can debrief yourself. And so it's finding those places and finding those people is really important.
I'm guessing that all our chaplains, as you know, are in hubs, and their monthly hub meeting would be a wonderful debriefing place. Annual training webinars would be one. But I still think, we're connected into local churches, and that's got to be a key integral part of sustaining a Waterways or police or hospital chaplain or anybody.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have to be aware of confidentiality issues in those conversations. It's you and that person, they're giving you stories that aren't yours to share. So you have to be mindful of that. But at the same time, you have to know that there are limits to your abilities, and sometimes the wisdom of others can be helpful as long as it's done anonymously and sensitively.
Tell us a bit about your background, Nikki. We're in Hebden Bridge, but I know you're not from Yorkshire.
No, I was born in Cambridge, was there throughout school. And
I'm just loving the cross in the background, even though it's covered in barbed wire.
And went straight to university. I wanted to be a primary school teacher, which I did become, but I wanted to study theology because I had questions and wanted to kind of wrestle with those things. And I suppose that's always been kind of a bit of a background to where I'm coming from. Met my husband at Bristol Baptist College. He became a Baptist minister, and I've moved around the country quite a bit. I've been a minister in churches and in chaplaincy too, as well as a teacher. So I guess I care about education, but essentially care about people mostly. Wanting to talking this morning about poetry. My husband and I have been reading a poem in the morning over breakfast, and this is a poem that has been translated from another language, and the difficulty of translating poetry. And it just feels like sometimes as Christians we feel like kind of translators. We've got this kind of poem that makes sense to us and speaks to us, our faith and what God's love means to us, and the desire and the compulsion to try and follow Jesus. But how do we translate that into something that connects with somebody else? And I suppose that's sort of
Let's go.
that's what chaplaincy is about. It's trying to share that love of poetry and the hope that a person gets a poetry themselves, or something else that's going to help them on the way. But knowing that we're never going to do it perfectly, and it's always a challenge.
Thank you. I love that. The juxtaposition of chaplaincy and poetry, and the way we all interpret poems differently depending on our background, what resonates with us. Here's another couple.
It's so easy to go through life and just respond to the stuff that comes along, and then suddenly find that we crash at some point or something happens and everything's turned upside down, and where do you go then? And for me, faith speaks into that very much, and and I think for chaplains it does too. It's how we can let our passion and let our convictions flood over.
I think, we're going to go through this tunnel and then go for a bite to eat. Lovely.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks, Nikki.